So big difference in the dueling sabers, which I'm seeing a lot of. You're just using your switches, right? So I think the one you've got there looks like a light.
It's closer than mine.
Yeah, light caliber sable, but it'll work. It'll work for this. The big difference is the guard shape and the way and the limited curve on the blade. The big thing with the shell, this one's been beat to heck, but the idea being when you're sitting in your normal, most of the time you're going to be spending in terza or third. The way you have the blade held, so your forearm is slightly angled up. The point is pointing over the top of your opponent's head. You have a bend in the elbow. The idea being there is the way that shell's designed is it cloaks your hand and your forearm, so it's a less viable target.
Is third knuckles facing?
Knuckles facing that way.
Okay.
Knuckles facing that way. So, who here has taken classical fencing or Olympic fencing before? Okay. So I see a lot of you already got that. So we're going to be in that classical L stance. So this foot is parallel. This foot is facing perpendicular to this foot. That foot's going to be towards your opponent or your partner. You're going to step comfortably out. Not a big deep set, but just comfortably about shoulder width apart. This hand is going to be either resting on your hip, fist, whatever works for you. As I said, it's going to be a bend to the elbow, forearm's going to be slightly up, and if you're going to be spending most of your time in terza or third, your point's going to be pointing above your opponent's head, and that's so you've got the blade in a good place to stop an attack to a high line. So as I said, we spend most of our time here, but there are other guards that use for deal with specific attacks and positions, but most of the time you're going to be spending it in terza or seconda. So either one of those, so hand up or hand down, arm position doesn't change. This does get a lot of work out on the deltoid and the wrists. I apologize in advance if you need to take a break. All right, so running through the series of guards, this is where everybody's aware. This is where we're aware of them, and I'll try and get through where they're applicable. So, prima or first is. Point is, so your blade's out in front of you, point is trailing off to your inside line. So the idea being there, if I did a cut at, if I was doing a cut at Ethan, so the blade's trailing off that way, he can see over the top of his guard. This isn't the guard at the top of his head, it's the guard of his chest. So if I'm doing a vertical cut from further out, that would mean to stop that and potentially shut it off. Drop his point just a little bit, don't shut it off, so he can follow up with his own attack. So that's prima. Turning your arm over and dropping the elbow, but keeping the point low. So we're here, low, seconda, terza, third, so we go 1, 2, 3, over the other side of the body, quarta or fourth. This one goes a little further down because if you're getting a cut on your inside line, that's a little more uncomfortable for people to come around to, and it does kind of lay them open, but it also leaves them further open or low so we can come back behind. All right, so quarta. There are two different versions of terza and quarta, and it really depends on if you need to rest your arm or not, or you need to get some measure and just have a defensive feature in play. You can do what's called terza basso or basso. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. Quarta basso. That's basically where you take your guard and you retract it to your hip, and that's a rest position you can do on the other side of the body. So all of a sudden, if you just had a big exchange with somebody, your arm's kind of throbbing, or you're a little winded, you need some time, you can back off, retreat under that guard just to give yourself a break. Alright, so two guards to the head, quinta and sesta is basically just, quinta is with the hand on your right side of your body, trailing off. It kind of looks like prima, you just raise it over your head. Sesta is hand on the other hand coming in from the left side of your inside line, same setup. And you're going to use those applicably as they just seem to be. The point's not strictly straightforward, it's still crossing your center line. To help stop an attack to the top of the head. And they're used interchangeably, but most of the time you're going to be using quinta because that keeps your hand from crossing, keeps your arm and your hand from crossing obviously your center line, and it's a little easier to react to. As I said, your point is forward, but not totally on line with them, with your opponent, but it would be very simple after a parry to move it into position and deliver a counter thrust after a parry. All right, any questions on those so far?
For Quartet in particular, how extended do you typically try to have the arm, and how horizontal versus vertical the sword?
Usually about, so arms relaxed, it's not fully extended because you still want that bend in your arm where it's coming out here, but it's still somewhat shielding your forearm and hand to the attack. But you're still in a position where you can still extend and deliver a counter thrust after a parry, or potentially do a step off line and cut into the wrist if they're just open themselves up, like, for instance, like can you do it on attacking the inside line, or you can step off and drop that foot, because now if you step outside, my forearm's exposed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Everybody here knows how to lunge, right? I hope so. Okay. For the most part, everybody's good on that. All right. Lunge is going to function the same way. You're going to use your backhand as a counterbalance whenever you reach for an attack. As I said, most of the time you're going to be sitting in terza, so just for simplicity's sake, we're going to be delivering a thrust in terza to the, we'll just say high line. So we're going to be aiming for the right cheek. Stretch out with that backhand, then you're going to use that as a counterbalance when you come in, recover low. If that's your position, if you need to adjust your height from there, you can do it once you're back in your ready position. Does anybody know basically classical fencing, footwork, and all that stuff, advanced retreat, and all that? Okay, maybe more or less. We don't need to go over that too much then.
Dave said you did.
Dave's old crush and he wants to make sure he's still relevant. Okay. All right. I think since we've got the defenses down, I think we can cover some basic attacks. So I think we should work. We're going to work from basic attacks from terza. So we're going to be covering. Actually, another thing I should talk about: grip on the sword. Most of your grip is going to be done with the thumb and forefinger and the pinky. The other fingers are just kind of along for the ride. It tends up whenever you deliver a cut or whenever you parry. Most of your cuts are going to be done with a couple of exceptions, especially if you're doing the Molinello. Oh, I should show you guys that one. Are going to be done more as, especially if you're cutting directly from the guard, are going to be done more snap cuts, relying on the movement of your body, or your arm, and the curvature of the blade to deliver the movement of the edge along the target area. But I guess we should cover Molinellos too, because those are kind of critical to this. All right, Molinello is you're familiar with that? Molinello, France, Italy, either one, basically. Now, the way they deliver it with the dueling saber, with the Italian dueling saber system and classical fencing, is you're going to transmute from terza into prima. You're going to withdraw the arm, edge will be aligned behind you, and then bring it back online on a straight cut to the top, either the top of the head or even for the chest.
Moline from the elbow.
Yep, moline from the elbow. Now you can, that does give you a little bit of time because you are withdrawing your hand from engagement there, but is obviously somebody who's canny and sees that coming might use that as an opportunity to strike into your arm or other target areas. So obviously you can combine that with other footwork, such as a pass, and throw it as a retreating blow, or do it as part of a slip. But a lot of the advice I've seen on when I was doing this more on the regular was basically learn to be able to do it 100 times in a row without getting fatigued. So if you want to practice that, and a lot of that you can get away with just the momentum of the blade moving. Yeah, mine's bugging me too. Any questions on that so far? And I know later, that was actually something I was asking myself early, a while when I got back into this was, because I remember this being called a Molinello and that as well, or, I'm sorry, this was one side was a Molinello, the other side was a Stramazione, and I can't remember which one was which, but I was like, when did they change that up?
I've heard Stramazzone as any extended cut, but the way I learned it any was that Moline was any circular cut from the wrist or the elbow.
Okay.
So the way I was originally taught was learn to Moline through the wrist, learn to Moline from the elbow, and I was taught to prefer the wrist.
Yeah, it's just faster, less fast, least fast. All right, I think we can do some practice some basic attacks. So I think the first one I want to practice is the cut to the right cheek, and they're real specific about this, and I think it had to do more with the dueling culture of the time than any kind of practical sense, but for the most part, you can aim, I mean, it's like, okay, I'm going to cut for the right cheek. Well, you're trying to kill the guy, it's not a huge trip, too much of a huge trip to hit something vital after that, but then again, you can also turn it into a thrust as well.
Ethan, can I borrow you? What's up?
Yes. May I borrow you for a little thing?
Yeah, should I go ask?
Yes, please.
Should we all get